Hey, good morning. Glad to see you here. Well, as you can see, we've gotten snow. So, we're at least having some snow this year. It's been really goofy weather around here in the Chicagoland area. And so it's kind of nice to have snow for a little while. Anyways, I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body mind expert, a shiatsu massage therapist, and I help women deal with toxic and narcissistic relationships. And today we are talking about redefining your self respect after narcissism. So, there's this may be a little bit of a opinion piece. I've spent a lot of years, lots and lots of years in the spiritual, emotional, mental health field, and whether it be body work or energy work or shamanism or Asian medicine or hands-on healing or energy, whatever it may be, I've been passionate and totally delved into it because I'm a little obsessed with um, healing, with healing oneself, with helping other people heal. It's what I do. And one of the challenges that I've seen is that a lot of the belief systems that women are led to believe, whether it's in spiritual practices or whether it's in everyday life, a lot of the beliefs that we're imprinted with as young women um, are actually designed to let us be prey to narcissists. It has to do with self-respect. Women as young little girls, or even in most any religion or most any spiritual practice, they're taught that they need to love more, they need to be more, they need to do more, and that the purpose in life is to take care of other people and to make sure that the people around you are happy, because if the people around you are happy, then you'll be happy. And there's this whole cycle of belief that that's cultural. Because we look back at indigenous cultures, and many of them were very matriarchal. There was an honoring of men and women. There wasn't a rigid set of roles or rules. There was more understanding and flexibility with the differences that people have, and many women would do things that men did, and many men would do things that women did. And it was a natural part of these matriarchal cultures because it was about community. Well, we got away from that, and we got away to teaching young girls to not respect themselves, teaching young girls that what they wanted and what they needed didn't matter, that that the highest form of who they could be was to love someone else and to love them well, that women would rescue men out of their emotions because we're kinder or more connected, or that was our role in life. Our role in life was to be the support staff for men. So then, we start to go, wait a second, and let's go deeper into spirituality. So then women went to spirituality. They said, screw this religion stuff. I'm going to go into religious, but not, spiritual, but not religious. And so then they might have dove into metaphysics and dove into Hay House books and dove into codependency and dove into Native American spirituality or Wiccan or Christianity, and even deeper, different versions of Christianity. And the message for most of those tends to be the same, which is that you need to be more loving, you need to be more compassionate, you need to be more understanding, you need to be more flexible, you need to be more evolved, you need to be more self-actualized. That women need to be something that is uh, even softer than what they've been doing. And being soft and being loving is really important, but those messages still brainwash women. They still teach us that our self-respect and that our wants and our needs and our boundaries don't matter. So there's a new movement that's coming out, and I'm glad to see it. There was a whole big crash and burn of where women are starting to learn that they deserve to respect themselves, and that respecting yourself isn't just behaving in the way that you want to behave, but behaving in a way that is good for you, that is good for you and good for the community. Now, in the past, that whole good for the community was sacrifice yourself more and more and more. Super interesting. I met a woman probably about 20 years ago now, and maybe 15. And after she had children, she still wanted to travel. And so she would take her infants and young children on all the trips with her, and they would climb mountains, and they'd stick a kid on a donkey, and there would be a Sherpa, and the children would learn how to carry their own stuff, and they really learned great self-esteem, and they really learned that they could do these things. Now, by the traditional model, we're supposed to stay, you're supposed to stay home with your children and sacrifice yourself so that they can have the best upbringing ever. But in reality, when we respect ourselves, when we start to recognize that it's important not only for us, but for the bigger picture, that we stop sacrificing ourselves for everybody else, that what we want and what we need matters. So, one of my favorite authors, who was breaking out of this mindset of keeping women enslaved in low self-respect and low self-esteem by forcing them to to be flexible and love everybody. One of my favorite authors around this is Brene Brown, and she talks about shame, and she talks about boundaries a lot too, which is wonderful. One of my favorite things that she says is that the most compassionate, empathic women that she they have really good boundaries. Because let's look at this for a second. When you're constantly feeling depleted because you sacrificed for somebody else and you didn't give yourself what you needed, when you constantly feel a little bit off and you pretend and hide that you don't, you just power through anyways, and you're going to make it work, and your force of will. When you're depleted and low, it is really hard to be compassionate to anybody else just because you don't feel good. And maybe it's super honorable that when you don't feel good, you can still be compassionate. In fact, that's where a lot of empathic and compassionate women come from, of completely denying their own needs and their own wants because it's the right thing to do, because they were taught that that's the right thing to do, whether it's for their children or their spouse or their family, to be the caretakers, to do that work. And everybody agrees, the men agree, the community agrees, politics agrees, everybody agrees that women should sacrifice themselves for the greater good. And that is not the greater good. The greater good is when women value themselves, is when they recognize that they have the right and the importance. It's important for women to respect what they want and who they want. So, I used to think self-respect was just behaving in a way that matched who I wanted to be. And so I would behave kindly. I would behave lovingly, no matter how I felt, how angry I felt, how frustrated, how sick I felt, no matter what it was. I pushed myself to always be nice, no matter what. Because to me, that was self-respect. Self-respect was, I'm not going to behave like that no matter what. I'm not going to behave like those people. I'm not going to do that thing. And that's true. That's a very important part of self-respect, is choosing who you're going to be and following that. But the other part of self-respect is recognizing that you can be the best version of yourself only when you get your needs met. Only when you make sure that you are having the experiences that you want to have. Because we live in a big, complicated world with a lot of predators and a lot of people who are selfish and self-absorbed. It's just the way that it is. And we are as well, especially when we don't feel well, And so people sort of go-to in a world of fear and a world of anxiety is, I got to protect myself at all costs, because that's what we're taught. We're taught no matter what, we've got to do it. We've got to do it on our own. And it doesn't mean anything unless we do it on our own. It doesn't mean anything unless we powered through and sweated through. And that's true. But we get to choose what we sacrifice for. We get to choose what we power and sweat through. And it's time to start recognizing that we have to raise ourselves up. our own self-value. So what does self-respect look like after narcissism? It looks like, one, yes, behaving the way that you want to behave, not slipping down into that narcissistic behavior that everybody so loves, of attacking and minimizing and diminishing and polarizing and fighting back and being aggressive and throwing the first punch. And that's, none of us wants to really behave that way, I don't think. I certainly know that I don't. But the second half of self-respect is behaving, yes, in that way, in a kind way, but in a way that also stands up for our needs, for where we're at, for what we want. Because that's the complement to behaving in the way that you want to behave. It's knowing who you are and what you want and respecting that and expressing that or getting that in a way that is within our own value system. It's not about ignoring who we are and sacrificing for everybody else and just loving more. Maybe it is about loving more, but it's about loving yourself more. Now, I know this sounds just like the whole narcissist thing. And you're like, well, why would I love myself more? That's how a narcissist is created. Not love, but love that recognizes who you are and wants to raise you up. The love that you were supposed to get when you were young, that said, you know what, I've got your back. I'll protect you. You're going to be safe because I'll make sure that people don't do this to you. It's the love that is gives all that same fierceness and maternal compassion and support that we would give children, but giving it to ourselves. Because many of us as children, we didn't get that. And that's why we ended up in the position that we are, because nobody gave us permission to say, you know what? Love is loving you too. Love is standing up for yourself. Love is walking away when your feelings are hurt. Love is deciding that you don't want to you don't want to fall back into that trap of watching your body get sicker and sicker and sicker until there's nothing left. You don't want to do that anymore. That's not what's in everybody's best interest. If you are depleted and there isn't much left, you are really no good to anybody, because you have a brain and a heart and a body which is designed to be a miracle. Oh my God, when you start studying how the body works and the body mind works, you're like, I am a miracle. The fact that I'm alive, the fact that I breathe, how does this happen? And when you start seeing yourself as just as valuable and just as important and just as needed to be your best as everybody else, things start to change. When you start to recognize you have something to offer in the world, whether it's patience, or whether it's role modeling to somebody else how to set good boundaries, or whether it's your enthusiasm for life or your kind heart, whatever it may be, you have something to give. And it's important. It's very important. And it's so important that you need to protect it. You need to nourish it. You need to value it and love it and do everything that you can to bring it to the forefront. Because when you're at your best, that's what helps the world the most. Because then you're coming from a place of groundedness and centeredness from your core. You're coming from a very authentic place. And so self-respect has those two sides. One, which is I'm not going to behave like a narcissist behaves. And the other one is, and I'm going to make sure that my needs get met. I'm going to make sure that I care about myself and I value myself. And when you do that, something surprising happens. When you start to respect yourself, surprisingly, other people start to respect you. And when other people start to respect you, they start to learn how to respect other people as well. And when people start learning how to respect other people as well, then they get better results. People are nicer to them. People treat them better. Life goes smoother. Everybody starts to work together. So your self-respect is a catalyst for the world to move in a really positive direction. Your self-love is what is needed so that people understand it's not about winners and losers. It's not about, I'm right and you're wrong. How do we look at the world and value the world as if we are both right, as if we are right, and now what do we do? You feel this way, you are struggling with this, now what do we do? Now, when you're with a narcissist, they do everything they can to keep you minimized and diminished and to keep power over you. And they've brainwashed you and taught you that your feelings don't matter, that what you want and need doesn't matter. And they keep with that company line that you were raised with, that a good woman is seen but, and not heard, or is invisible, or does everything for everybody else. That's what a good woman is. She's soft and kind and nourishing and Mother Teresa. And even though Mother Teresa wasn't all that soft, she was a tough, tough woman. That we should be like Mother Mary, that we should be this divine feminine. The divine feminine is only able to come out when she's protected. And we used to look to men many times to protect women so that that divine feminine could come out. But that's not the world we live in anymore, is it? And this isn't a matriarchal society. And so it's up to us to reclaim those parts and pieces of us. And when we find that we evolve in that way, when we start setting those boundaries, when we start valuing what we think and what we want, and finding people who do value that, we don't get involved with people who aren't able to value us. We don't get involved in arguments where people can't hear what you're saying. We talk to people who can. We work with people who can. And then the other people will come along when they're ready. So you deserve to be happy. You deserve to do things that make your body feel good. You deserve to get the things that you need that help you be the best version of you. And if it's a day at the spa, or if it's talking to a therapist, or if it's going for a walk, or if it's eating nourishing foods, or if it's drinking enough water, whatever it may be, you need to be the best version of you. And that is where self-respect comes from, because you can't be the best version of you until you decide that you matter, because other people won't, because they're stuck in their own world. They're in their own universe, focused on how do I survive my own life. And many times they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about how they're going to make it through another day. And so it's up to you to love you. Okay. So that's my little op-ed piece on personal growth that's masculine oriented and not really meeting women's needs. And if you feel stuck, if you need some help, message me, because I've got a lot of different ways that I can help women. If you're local, then we do one-on-one in person. If you're not, we've got this wonderful narcissist group of women that we get together, and it's a facilitated process. So it's not going to disintegrate into, egos and negative energy. It just doesn't happen that way, because I facilitate it. That's just not the direction we're going to go. There's honoring and respect and space to be who you need to be. And we're always looking towards how we're growing and how we're evolving. So we've got that, or I've got all of these live streams. They're totally cataloged and searchable on a great app. And I can get you the link to those, and then you can have tons of information at your fingertips. So we've got lots of options. And if you reach out, try to give me a day or so, because I can be a little bit slow keeping all the balls juggled. And but I'm so excited to get to know you better. So have a great rest of your day. And if you feel stuck, let me know, because I'll help you move forward and in a positive, happy direction, and regain your self-respect. Because somewhere along the line you lost it, and then the narcissist capitalized on that, and you ended up in kind of a crazy situation where now you have to heal. Have you been watching the squirrels behind me? They're awesome. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye.